Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sunnyside podcast. Today, I am joined by Stephen Smith. He is the CEO of Tollanis Solutions. I'm going to let Stephen introduce himself. Hello, Steve. How are we doing?
Hey, great day, Finn. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Excited to be here and excited to be chatting with you.
Absolutely. I'm excited to kind of unpack everything that you guys are doing at the moment, talk about kind of your journey. So, yeah, obviously, I've got a bit of an understanding of what you do, Steve, about your story. Could you mind giving the audience a bit of a summary, if that's okay, sir?
Sure. So my story started out in the U.S. military. I'm a retired Army veteran here and got my start in technology working in military intelligence and doing communications and electronic systems for the U.S. Army. Left, went out, joined the private sector, worked for IBM and a couple other large multinational technology firms, kind of cut my teeth in the trenches of delivery and technology solutions. Ended up working my way into the C-suite, so served as chief information officer and chief technology officer for brands like Autotrader.com and Orbitz.com. Eventually left the corporate track and started my own company in 2009. That's where I started and founded Tollanis, and we've been plugging away at it now for the past decade plus, and trying to make a difference in technology solutions for our customers and clients around the globe.
Nice. Well, thank you for the overview. So, in regards to what your kind of value proposition is at Tollanis, who do you kind of serve? What do you do? Could you break that down for us, please?
Yeah, so having the opportunity to work on both sides of the table, to say, I entered and started this business with the desire to create a more transparent delivery model. I wanted to make sure that we were kind of the truth tellers, that we were the voice of logic, of reason, and really could slide into that trusted advisor role for our customers.
Mm.
But more importantly, over the years, my experience has taught me that no matter what technology trend is evolving, moving forward, or, front and center in the world, the human is still an integral part in that. And even today, with all the hyperbole and fascination and explosion of artificial intelligence, the human is still an important part of that technology story. Without it, there is no one to build the technology for, and there's no one to actually execute and build the technology itself. So our value prop is really making sure that you keep the human in mind, that you work with transparency, and as a service provider, whether we're running your system, operating and building it, or just helping you do consulting and figure out what you need, that we operate as that trusted advisor. So that's really kind of the crux of what we try to promote and drive.
Interesting. So it's predominantly IT. So you do pretty much a bit of everything on the. Is that a fair assumption on the IT side of things?
Yeah, so our industries, we're in healthcare, we're in pharmaceuticals, which is nice adjacent. We also support, I'll call it blue collar, so manufacturing, service support operations for companies that build, service, and support generators. And we do everything from technology solution implementation, consulting, to ongoing support and operations. So we've got, facilities in the Philippines, Morocco, Canada, Central America, Colombia, Europe, India. But, our folks are everything from we help you write the code to we pick up the phone and answer it to we'll talk to your customers and take the service request calls. So we've got about 250 folks across all those locations globally. And it's a true, remote first business model. So most of our folks work from home, but we do have centers where folks are situated. And again, it's kind of a full spectrum service offering from, software to infrastructure to ongoing operational support.
Interesting. So thank you for giving us an overview. That's actually quite helpful. So obviously you started from, I take it, from 0 employees all the way up to 250. So you must be doing something right. How was that? How has this come about?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we started with one. It was me.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
we didn't start at zero. Listen. When I left corporate world, I had the thought of just going out and doing consulting. Unfortunately, it's a truism in the world. When you get to a certain level in your career, you're going to have very limited options on what you can do. if you've kind of started your own business and you own it and you drive it, it's going to be real hard for you to move, to other roles. So when I kind of left my last executive role, I was kind of done with corporate America, but my options were pretty limited. I was either going to go back into a C-level job, I was going to be a consultant, I was going to start my own company, or I was going to be unemployed. Those are really your options. No one's going to go hire me to be a director of IT or to be a coder, even though I could do that and may have a passion for it. So, as senior executives and as you age and mature through your career and you get in your 40s and your 50s, your options become pretty limited. And so, I kind of felt like I was at that crux where I had to make a decision. I was just going to go do consulting work, or I was going to start my own company. So I started with consulting. And then, I got more clients and friends reached out and people needed solutions. So I hired a couple of my friends and we cobbled together, a company. And, next thing you know, we're growing. We bought our first company in 2018. We founded a second one in 2019. We bought our second company in 2022. So, it just kind of through organic and acquisitions and spinning up new business units and, new ideas about how we could help customers, we got to where we are today. Story's certainly not done. Certainly still have ambition and drive to get this thing a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger.
A lot
But,
of people.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're targeting, I'd like to get to $100 million. That's kind of my dream target to get to. And, it's amazing. There are so many venture capital and so many investment firms out there. If I don't get 10 emails a week of someone that wants to buy or invest in my company, I'd be surprised. It is a very interesting time, and especially with AI and in certain industries, there is such a thirst for companies to find investment opportunities because whether you see it or not, the world is awash in capital. There is so much money out there sloshing around. So if you've got a great story and you've got a good solid business, you probably have a good opportunity to sell that, monetize it, and put some cash in your pocket if that's what you want to do.
Nice. Well, that's not a bad problem to have, is it? People wanting to buy a business. It's a nice thing to fall back on if you do need it. So you got 250. So a lot of them are remote. How have you kind of found as the CEO? I mean, do you have people that kind of look after them, or is that your job? Obviously, people remote. Do you ever find that they're not slacking, but do you have to keep on them a bit? How do you kind of manage them?
I've worked with remote organizations, and I'll go back to, like I said, when I left the military, I went to work for first a company called Electronic Data Systems, which was subsequently acquired by Ross Perot or by Hewlett Packard. And then I went to work for IBM, and IBM at the time had made a very strategic decision to close their offices. At one point, IBM had the world's largest portfolio of corporate real estate. And so they were investing literally, billions of dollars in buildings and taxes and maintenance. And they just kind of wiped the book clean and moved everyone into remote positions. And I learned pretty early on that, if you're in the office, you have a lot of wasted time. You're going to the break room, you're going to the water cooler, you're chatting with your friend in the cube next to you. You have a lot of dead time. It just seems like it's not dead time because you're in the office. That same dead time, now you're sitting home by yourself, and I can go and throw a load of laundry in, and I can, go feed the pet, the dog, the cat, whatever you got. I can, take a call from mom. People, the work fills the space and time, is what I found. And so you need to find people that actually can be self-disciplined and self-regulated and know that, hey, there's things that need to get done. I know when they need to get done. I know the calls that I need to be on, and I can tell the difference between when I can go and take care of things that I need to take care of on my personal side, but I actually need to deliver the things the company needs me to deliver. That's a hard quality because a lot of people can't self-regulate. And so, yeah, do we have people all the time that are slacking and not doing what they're supposed to do? Sure. But it shows up in the quality of the work. It shows up in their availability. And then we have to take action. I worked for a company where they had very intrusive software that literally you had to take your mouse and I had to be moving it every, couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And you can fake through that stuff too. So it really is about finding the right people with the right mentality, the right self-discipline to take those opportunities and very quickly weed out the ones that don't have that discipline and ability to understand that, you need to work when you need to work. And if there isn't, work to be done, go ahead, take care of the things you need to take care of. But, we're all big boys and girls. We're adults, and we hire you to do a job, and we hire you to take care of customers. You know what you need to do. You know where you need to be. You know the customers you need to take care of. And so we try to infuse that in the organization and take decisive action when it doesn't happen with the team members.
Nice. I think that's a good way to do it. To be fair, there's obviously you're quite limited to what you can do, but obviously you can tell if they're slacking, can't you? So if we think back to when kind of as you're growing, without naming names, what job roles do you think were detrimental to your guys' success and your scaling up? What was some of the hires that you thought, oh my God, I can't believe that I didn't have this person.
I will tell you that the bane of my existence, and I've been a chief marketing officer, by the way, as well, but my bane of my existence is marketing. It can be an endless cesspool. It can be an endless, money pit. Finding the right combinations of product, talent, and marketing resources to help a company be successful is just immensely challenging. I will tell you that, one period of time we went through, in a span of 24 months, we went through 3 marketeers, VPs of marketing for the firm. And, it was exhausting. And so, I think that area is one where if you've got the right marketing, either outsourced partner, or you've got the right marketing leader and team internal, it just makes an incredible amount of difference. The other part of that, which is kind of the corollary, is you have to make that investment in marketing, and you have to make that investment in sales and business development and lead gen and all that stuff. And AI has given us a lot of tools to do that faster. I don't think it's given us tools to replace the humans. I think it's given us tools to expand and let those humans do more faster with a better quality. But I will tell you that, building your own organic book of business, and I don't care what business you're in, it is hard. It is a slog. It's a day-to-day, hand-to-hand combat trench warfare. And, when we've been able to accelerate our growth and bolt on new revenue in a much more efficient way is when we've been able to acquire a company. You go buy someone that's already built a book of business. You can build on top of it. You can add solutions. You can add better people. You can improve the customer experience. And, do your farming in those accounts. So I will tell you that, the job I've had, the biggest challenge with filling has been that senior marketing person. The person you can't live without in the team, your head of delivery. If you don't find a good VP of delivery who makes sure that the promises that we make are the promises that we keep, you're screwed. You can have the best marketing machine in the world and have customers lined up at the door, and if you can't execute and deliver and fulfill on your promises, you failed. So, you got both ends of the spectrum, and by the way, both those people don't necessarily like each other and like to work well with each other.
Awesome.
The delivery people don't like anyone in their shorts, and the marketing people want to make sure the delivery people are doing exactly what they should be doing, and it's a constant friction, but it is a natural friction that needs to be there for an organization to succeed.
That's interesting. So, as the CEO, what's kind of your day to day? Are you much hands on, or are you kind of just monitoring people? Or how do you kind of?
I think it's a mix of both, Finn. Growing up in the trenches, I'm a very hands-on kind of guy, and I like technology. But I think where I fall short is I am not a detail guy. So I've got to have people who are detailed people that dig into the facts and the data. But I will tell you that, as an organization grows, you need to shift your focus. You need to find people who can execute and deliver. I think it is the killer for anyone that's growing their company is once you get past kind of $3 to $5 million in revenue, you're at that crux where you've got to shift from being a doer to being a leader, a strategic thinker, a visionary, a cheerleader. You've got to move into a different kind of head and mind space. I think a lot of business owners struggle with that. I've been fortunate. I used to work at a very senior level. I mean, my organizations that I led when I was a CIO, I had, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people working for me. So I was kind of already used to working in that level. So when I started my own company, I actually had to adjust the opposite direction, learn how to get down here and do things in the trenches that I hadn't necessarily done for over a decade. So I'll give you a great example. For 20 years, I had an administrative assistant. She kept my calendar. She booked my travel. She did all my expense reports. And I don't mean to be sexist. It was always a woman. That's why I said
Yeah.
she.
Yeah.
But, I never did that stuff on myself. And so when my wife and I started buying companies and growing our company, my wife was like, "Oh my God, you're a mess. You can't keep track of your calendar. You can't book your own travel." And I'm like, "Because I had someone doing that for me." Um, so, it's adjusting as you're going up or down that scale. But I will tell you that it is difficult because, how you think and the habits that you build, you have to transition. You got to figure out, when is that point when I got to make sure that I'm going to hold someone accountable for getting X, Y, and Z done? Because I don't have the time to do that. I've got to go arrange for financing and legal and, talk about mergers and strategic, segments that we need to go attack and grow and develop talent and skill set, or strategic partnerships and relationships. Equally, and if not more important than the day-to-day execution when you get to a certain scale and size.
That's interesting. Well, here's a question on that then. To get to the 100 million, the revenue the number that you said, how do you think you as the CEO, do you think you're well equipped, like how you actually operate in your day to day? Do you think you have got the capability to get there now, or do you think you will have to change what you're spending your time on as the CEO?
Yeah, I think I have what our company needs for us to get there. What I don't have is the team to help me get there.
Mm.
And it's interesting. I was reading a story, and it actually came from Larry Ellison,
Okay.
founder of Oracle.
Not Oracle, yeah.
And Larry was talking about when he started the company, and he started as a database guy. He was it. It was a company of one. It was Larry Ellison building databases, and he came up with the Oracle software, and and it grew, and they got to a certain size, and he built a cadre of people around him that got the company up towards that $100 million+ range. But he got to a certain point, and he realized all these people that I've put in leadership, they're the wrong people. They're not the people that can scale it to the next level. Larry was there. He knew what he needed to do, but he needed the team that started thinking and acting differently. And I think that's the challenge is as your company grows, the people that helped you get there aren't necessarily the people that are going to help you get to the next level or keep that trajectory going. And it cuts to the quick. It hurts, man, because these
Yeah, that
people with you, they slaved, they bled, they worked late, they came in early, so that's the hard part about that, because you've got to just make those cold business decisions. It doesn't mean you leave those people behind or you don't take care of them or
yeah,
find opportunities for them. But the team has to grow as you develop and build your company so that they move with you and then can continue that trajectory of growth to whatever that's going to be and whatever you and your board and ownership want to achieve.
it's quite a difficult decision to make, isn't it, as a business
It's
owner?
tough.
Yeah. How do you actually do that? Do you find another kind of role for them, or you can't just it feels a bit harsh just to give them the sack, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just giving them the sack, and I mean, give them some cash when they exit the door. Like we offer equity, so we are, a C corp in the U.S., which means we can hand out stock to our teammates. So there's folks that are going to walk away with equity in the company if they leave. But yeah, it's a tough decision, and as a business owner, you're going to have to look at that. And if you don't make those decisions, you're making a conscious decision to let your company kind of be what it is and
Yeah,
not be more than it could
and
be.
stage. Yeah,
And that's fine. That's a decision too. I mean, I know a lot of guys in my space who do the same things we do. It's not like we're doing unique things. And they're happy having what they call a lifestyle business. I make good money. I can, buy my Ducati motorcycle and drive my BMW and go on nice vacations. And my company is just about what it's been for the past 5 years or 10 years. And I'm good with that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
it's interesting, isn't it? It really is. So, apart from the team, what's kind of got to change for you guys? Do you think you're equipped with what you're kind of offering, like what you're actually giving to market? It's just a matter of fact of like just scaling the amount of clients you've got or moving into a different region, or how was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have the wherewithal and we have the framework, the structure, the skill
Yeah,
sets. I think to your point, it's really just about, adding more clients, continuing to identify opportunities for acquisition and growth, continuing to add good talent to the team, and just keeping our focus on the ball and making sure we don't take our eyes off it. Because the minute you're engaged and you're moving toward the net and you take your eye off the ball, someone's going to snatch it out from you, and they're going to be heading the opposite direction to score a goal. So you got to make sure that you're always watching, looking. But I think we, as a company, have the requisite building blocks, and we just need to keep executing and growing, and finding those opportunities where we can add value for our clients, our team, our company, and each other.
Nice. I think that's interesting. So let's talk about the mergers then. So I assume, so you mentioned that you've done a couple just before. Is that quite a big factor to your guys' growth? I mean, what's your kind of how when you look to acquire a business, is it somebody who's in your kind of vertical, or are you looking to kind of acquire somebody then go into a different market, or how do you kind of work?
Yeah, I think it's both, Finn. So our last acquisition almost doubled the size of the company. So that it brought in 114 people into the business.
Wow.
It was not something that we wanted to get into because it added a lot of, I'll call it, support people. It's remote support of phone, computer, back office stuff. But the business presented itself as a great opportunity because here's the other part. You need cash. Cash is the fuel to grow a company. Okay. So if you're not going to go take money from somebody else, which we have not, you got to either go raise capital yourself somehow, you got to borrow it, or you got to find opportunities where you can, just finance it. This presented itself as a great opportunity because it was owner financed. We had to come up with obviously the initial down payment, but the seller of the business, was willing to finance the business. Now, because he was willing to do that, the business had a few warts. It was not a perfect business. We had to go through and do a lot of lifting to get the right contracts in place, to get the right legal structure, to get the right protection. So, for example, a lot of this was the big chunk of it. They had 40 or 50 people doing telephonic support for pharmaceuticals, customer returns, credit card sales. They'd never done PCI. So, we had to go and put in a whole PCI framework. We had to build all the tools out. We had to bring PCI consultants in to get our PCI certification. It was something the previous owner knew that he didn't have, but it wasn't a priority because he had a lifestyle business that gave him enough money. And, if it went,
Well
bottoms
done.
up at the next quarterly, period, he would just walk away and he was fine. He was an older guy. So, we had to put a lot of investment in to make that ugly duckling a good business. And it's a great business now. It produces solid revenue for us, very profitable. We've fixed the majority of the issues. We've still got some old technology that's at the core of it. But every time you make an acquisition, you're going to come up with ugliness. There's no doubt about it. And when I was in the corporate world, I was at Orbitz.com. I was the CIO of Orbitz. We were actually owned by a parent company out of New York City. It was actually an investment banking firm. But in the course of 5 years, we started with $0 in revenue and grew to $3.5 billion. We did over 150 acquisitions in
Really?
5 years. So I've kind of been through this a couple times and seen it, and there is never been an acquisition that I have seen that didn't have warts and challenges and I've never seen an acquisition delivered on the promise that was built into the business case for the acquisition. They all come with problems and issues. But if you've got a good team, again, it goes back to your leadership team who know what to do, have seen this before, and can mobilize quickly and integrate and clean up the mess. And I will say that's the big thing I learned through 150 plus acquisitions. Rip the Band-Aid off as soon as possible. Bad problems, bad infrastructure, bad structures, bad whatever doesn't get better with time. It gets worse, and problems continue to metastasize and get larger and become a bigger problem to solve. So solve those problems as soon as you can. Solve them up front. Rip the Band-Aid off quick. If something's got to go, something's got to be shut down, expenses need to be cut. Do it sooner than later because you will pay for it in spades down the road if you don't fix it sooner than you should.
It's actually really interesting to hear about because that's a vertical that I would like to get to in later life is buying and acquiring companies. So, how did you find it? Like the team, like the staff that are from the. So I assume that you bought the company and just took it in like into Tollanis, or is it still a different company?
No, it was a different company, but we brought it
You bought
over.
it, and
We brought
now
it
it's
over.
all one company, or
Yeah, it's all brought into one company. I mean, behind the scenes legally, there's some legalese
yeah,
and
okay,
structures, but from a brand and a face to the consumer or the customer, it's one brand, one company. But my typical experience has been keep the team in place because here's the thing: you don't know what you don't know. You're going to go buy a business, and if you think you know it because you've read through the documents and you've done your due diligence, and you've talked, you don't know.
this is
There's
what I just
so much
about to say.
crap
Yeah.
that's hidden below the decks and behind the curtain, and you know you don't know where the dead bodies are. You don't know why those decisions were made, and so you need to keep the team intact until you're at a point where you believe that you have built the relationships with the clients and it's solid. You really have decomposed the entire architecture, the technology solutions, the software. You know it's there.
Hmm.
You have a good handle on the contracts and the legal and the structures that underpin the money that's coming in that make this a viable acquisition. So we tend to take that very slow. So, like for example, we kept the previous owner on. I kept him on for 12 months. At 12 months, it was time. We had built that bridge, and I said, hey, it's been great. We'll use a fake name, Bill. It's been great, Bill. Thanks so much, but it's time to part friends, and we do that. And then we start going through the team little by little as we bring new leadership in. We look at old leaders and are they the right fit? They got to fit your culture. If they don't fit your culture, then you've got a bigger issue.
Hmm.
Lots of people have the right skill sets, and I can look at your CV or your resume and I can say, oh yeah, Finn's the right guy, man, bring him in. But if you're not the right cultural fit for the company, you're going to fail as well, and you're going to end up spinning your tires, and you're going to end up replacing that person anyway. So I tend to even though it's rip the band-aid off quick, if people are good enough and they're making you're moving forward, don't be rash to fire someone just because you need to fire them because you want to put your dude in or your dudette in. You're not gonna do yourself any favors, but you got to keep your eye on that cultural piece to make sure that they fit with what you're going to do. Now, like you said, if you want to just go buy and acquire companies and spin, buy and sell, and spin and grow, that's a different conversation because you're not looking to grow a business per se. You're looking to grow your bank account. Very different kind of approach and attitude. That's more of a churn and burn. I don't want to use burn, but you're focused on putting money in the bank and acquiring, buying low and selling high. That's a different than I'm looking to buy, integrate, grow, and build more value over time.
That's interesting. So the lesson that I've took from that is that with the team, start peeling back the layers little by little. Don't go. So my question was going to be like, how did the team find it? Like, oh, I was going to say, did you go in and start just ripping people out left, right, and centre? But obviously you're going slowly. Which I was going to say, surely that's a bit of like one of them. Even though as a business owner, you probably do want to do that deep down,
But yeah,
but you probably can't because it would be quite challenging to do so.
you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot. And I will tell you, the minute you buy a company, all the employees are going to go, oh, we're going to get fired. He's going to
Yeah.
fire us all. And so you spend every day going, listen, I'm not going to fire you. But in the back of your head, you're going, yeah, I'm going to fire you.
Yeah.
Listen, we've kept a lot of the rank and file stay in. It's usually not the folks in the trenches that really need to go. They're just doing their job. They're taking
Yeah.
customers. They're making sure that the ship doesn't sink, man. They're shoveling coal into the furnace. They're turning the wrenches. That's not where the issue. The issue is usually the leadership who are not attuned with your culture, your focus, your drive. They're not a fit culturally, like I said. They don't have the right skill set. Those are the folks you need to keep your eyes on and make the decision when is the right time to help them find their next opportunity and get promoted to customer.
Interesting. When you acquire a customer, so a company, sorry, how long do you think you need to leave it before that you've bought them, they're kind of in the loop now, everything's smooth, and then you can go to look to buy another company. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So my rule of thumb has typically been somewhere 6 to 12 months. I think
Oh, so not that long then.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm an old-fashioned guy. Okay, I'm a very conservative guy. I'm ex-military, and I have 4 kids, 3 daughters and a son. And I
Yeah.
told all my daughters, if someone can date you, be mutually exclusive with you, hang out with you all the time, move in with you. After a year, they should know whether they want to marry you or not. If you don't know within a year's time, if you've got a good business, you got a good leader, you got someone that you want to integrate into your go forward strategy, then you failed, because somewhere 6 to 12 months, you should know what you're working with and what you're dealing with, both from a people, personnel, process, technology. So I always give that kind of 6 to 12 month time frame, because once you start going past that, you've pretty much made a default decision. I'm going to keep this person, and I'm good with whatever they bring to the table. So yeah, 6 to 12 months is kind of my window where you kind of have to crap or get off the.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, I want to kind of loop back to a point that you mentioned earlier about kind of marketing and how you've maybe struggled a little bit. But how do you think in an ideal world, as a CEO, how should a business market themselves? I mean, how do they need to market themselves? Because a lot of people seem to kind of boast, if you like, that they rely on referrals and word of mouth, which I would love to get your perspective on.
Listen, word of mouth is always going to be your best opportunity to bolt
Of
business.
course, yeah.
Yeah. And so, if you can find those opportunities to grow from word of mouth, that's going to be your best path. You have to market. You have to get out there. You have to start throwing your oars in the water and starting to row. There's too many voices. There's too much noise out there now. So you have got to put your oars in. You've got to put your shoulder to the wheel. You've got to figure out how to start making those waves in that space. It's difficult. It's hard. There's so much competition. There's so much, competition for the customer's attention. As a CEO, this thing right here, if I get 20 calls a day, and I use my own cell phone, I haven't changed the number, I probably get at least 20 calls a day that I don't answer. Just
Really.
unsolicited people trying to sell me stuff or talk to me about,
Yeah.
banking or, whatever it is.
Something.
So I'm very selective about who I engage with. So I'm using myself as example. So think of any, and it was the same when I was sitting as a CIO or CTO. There are so many people trying to bang against your door to get you to buy something. So you've got to stay out there. You got to be in it, and then you've got to find your niche to be able to get in there and build that connection, get that relationship, establish some way to differentiate yourself and start that growth. That's why I go back to our beginning of our conversation. It is hard as hell to organically grow your business. It's tough. It's a slog every day, but you have no choice. You have to do it. So, I don't have any magical potion. It's use every trick, use every tool, and balance them out and figure out how
Yeah,
you.
try things, haven't you? Try things, test them, reiterate exactly
A/B
that.
testing, man. Just keep
The-
experimenting. You're going to find something, and some stuff won't work, and you throw it in the trash can and you move on quick. Fail forward fast. That's what you got to do.
And it is one of them things, if you do crack it, it will literally be the highest leverage thing that you'll ever do, and then you will grow and grow and grow. And then
That's
the
it.
rest of history is
Got
it.
to find that hockey stick, man, wherever it is, and so you keep looking for it, and and some years it's good, and some years it's scant and dry, and it happens.
And that's life, but that's we love it though, don't we? Deep down, although at the
Hey,
time,
it's about the
at the
climb,
time
man.
you don't, you look back at it and you think, good times.
It's the climb, man. If it wasn't for the climb, none of us would be here.
Absolutely. As a CEO, what do you think is the most important skill for somebody to actually have in order to drive a big business, so to actually do something great? What do you think is or like the key things, or even if I rephrase the question, when you look in your leadership team, what are the kind of the main things that you're looking for in these types of people?
So I think this again, Steve's personal opinion over the years. The thing that I've seen that is a hallmark of kind of the base of a great leader who can lead a great business is being a Swiss Army knife, being well-rounded, a jack of all trades, a master of none. A lot of people, oh well, you need someone who's a technologist, someone who came from technology. You go look at business school research, and you'll find that most of the successful business leaders out in the world are liberal arts and humanities majors in university. It's not about coming with a hard science degree. It's the ability to communicate, to share a story, to build a story, to share an idea. So, if you're going to be at a senior level, you've got to be very comfortable stepping out, whether it's a podcast or whether it's stepping onto a stage with 3,000 people at a conference and sharing and communicating an idea, a concept, and inspiring people to go and get to that, whatever it is you're trying to inspire them to achieve. It's not about technical skill set. I can find 100 people to create a widget. I can ask AI to create a widget. What I can't ask AI to do, and what I can't ask a technician to do, is walk into a room and all of a sudden people go, that guy knows what he's talking about, or that woman is sharp, and that person has that little, as my French friends say, je ne sais quoi, that little special something that sets them apart. And that's usually because you have a well-rounded background, that you come from a more liberal arts background, or you've built those type of skill sets, even if you've come from a technical, hard science or STEM background.
So you think it comes down to having skill sets, being well-rounded. I've actually heard that before from a few of my mentors, but you actually wouldn't think it, would you? But you'd actually think if you didn't run a business, like get really good at one thing and just go for that one thing.
And there's always exceptions. I mean, listen, the world is full of exceptions, but I would say as a general rule, and I'll use the Pareto principle, 80% of business leaders have that ability to communicate. And that's both written as well as oral. You've got to be able to, and I'll give you Jeff Bezos. He banned PowerPoint presentations because he wanted his leaders to put together a document that was sent out to the leadership team, and everyone read it before they got in the room, and then they discussed the points from the document that they had concerns with. He wouldn't let anyone do PowerPoint presentations. They had I can't remember if it was Bezos or somebody else, maybe it was Google, was the pizza rule. If you've got more people in the room than you can feed with one pizza, you don't hold the meeting. But that's about communicating. It's about discussing and twisting and turning ideas. It's not about someone coming in that 3 levels down in a nested what if statement, there's this parameter. Nobody cares. It's important, but nobody cares.
Interesting. Communication. No, I do think so. Coming on to the topic of AI, I know it's quite a hot topic right now. Are you guys looking to kind of adopt AI? I mean, I assume that you've kind of got some processes and stuff internally, and obviously, are you looking to kind of sell it on behalf of your clients?
Yeah, we're building AI agent solutions right now. We're actually in the process of developing our Tollanis AI agent factory.
Mm.
And agents are going to be working side by side in a hybrid model with humans. That's done. That's happening.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so what that looks like and evolves to, I can't tell you. I've got I'm a science fiction guy, so I've got lots of ideas what hybrid AI environment looks like in the future. But I will tell you that it's a reality. It's happening. It's going on. We're in the middle of it. We're building AI agents. We've probably got a dozen customers now where we have built AI solutions for them. I don't think we're using AI internally as much as we should, but I definitely think that it is the future, and it is. I don't think it's right now. I don't think it's delivering on the promise and the hype yet, but I do think we're 5 or so years out for it actually delivering on the promise right now. In spite of the hundreds of billions of dollars being spent on it. Because it just sucks up cash because it's such an infrastructure intense piece of technology. And I don't think that's going to slow down at all because, for example, they're already predicting right now that, at the current growth rates, somewhere between 6 and 9% of the entire electrical output of the United States is going to be consumed by AI and data centers within the next 5 years. Crazy.
Doesn't sound too sustainable, does it, when you actually put it like that?
Yeah, it's the politicians, and I say the politicians, that's Europe, Americas, and China in particular, because those are the 3 centers of technology and investment and capital. They're going to have to figure out how to build the infrastructure for this stuff. My hope is, because really what's going to help really drive the energy part of it is us to crack the code on fusion energy. If we can crack the code on fusion and actually create a viable and sustainable fusion reaction, which I think we're pretty close, that's going to give us the kind of energy that we need. But until that point, it's all hands on deck. It's it's solar, it's wind, hydroelectric, it's nuclear, it's go down the list. we just need to generate as much power as possible to fuel this thing because it just consumes it like, it's going out of style. And I don't think there's anything right now from any of these countries other than China that really has an infrastructure electrical plan to fuel the AI revolution.
Interesting.
Yeah, the Chinese are on top of it.
The Chinese, yeah, they're on job, aren't they? Know what they're doing.
And they can just bulldoze over anybody because it's a communist country. It's a dictatorship, and they're going to go build dams and power plants, and it's going to be like hot butter, a knife through hot butter, my friend.
Mm. Interesting time to be alive, isn't it, Steve? Well, hopefully I can make some money before then and capitalize on the AI revolution. I think we've got a few years yet, and I'm working on it. But no, listen, Steve, it's been such a good conversation. I've actually learned quite a lot, quite mesmerized actually. If the audience do want to get in touch with you, where can they get in touch with you, sir?
Sure. So you can reach out to my website, www.tollanis.com, TOLLANIS.com, or shoot an email to me, smith@tollanis.com. I read all my own email, and I still don't have an admin. I do have an AI admin, though, but not the same as someone I can just go get all my receipts to and, just take a big pile of paper. The robots can't do that yet.
Maybe you should do that. Maybe you should do that. Well, no, Steve, thank you so much. It's actually been a very good conversation. I appreciate you coming on.
Okay. Appreciate it, Finn. Thanks so much.